Predator Killer of Killers is the new entry in the long-running Predator franchise, and this one is directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who directed the previous entry in the franchise, Prey, which I just absolutely love and adore. He also co-directed this with Josh Wassung, and this is all happening while Dan is also directing Predator Badlands at the same time. So these two Predator movies are being made simultaneously at the same time, and that's just crazy to me. The movie stars and are voiced by actors such as Lindsay Levenchi, Michael Biehn, who we all know as Hicks from Aliens and Kyle Reese from Terminator, Louis Ozawa, who is also Hanzo in Predators, and there's many more voice actors as well in this movie. I was absolutely lucky to attend the Hollywood premiere of Predator Killer of Killers, which is one of the very few theatrical screenings of the movie, since this is a Hulu release. I went with my good buddy Adam Milichevich, who did creature design on a little movie called Alien Romulus. I saw a lot of familiar faces from the Predator franchise there, and it was just a really cool night of just Predator love. Richard Chavez was there, Poncho from Predator, Dane DeLegro, the feral Predator from Prey was there, and Amber Midthunder was in attendance as well. There was a really excited buzz in the air, and that's what happens at all these premieres. I just feel super lucky that I was able to attend a theatrical screening of this movie thanks to American Cinematheque and Beyond Fest, who host these awesome events and do early screenings like this all the time. Once we got into the theater's courtyard, we were greeted by a gigantic Predator statue based off of the Predator that goes up against the Vikings in one of the stories. And he was awesome. This big Predator statue was designed by Studio Gillis, formerly Studio ADI, who designed the Feral Predator and a lot more of the Alien and Predators from the franchises. They also happened to design the Predators for this film too. I tried to get as much fun photos and videos of this big Predator, and he was just really impressive to see in person. I was so blown away by it. They did a great job taking that animated design and bringing it into a practical real life statue form. There was just so much Predator going on around the room. It was super fun. And the screening itself, there was just a very rowdy and happy crowd. They were loving every kill, every bit of violence that everybody was hooting and hollering. It was just a blast. And these American Cinematheque and Beyond Fest screenings usually are like a big party. That just adds to the excitement for the screening. But because of that excitement, you might get a little bit of over-exaggeration when it comes to some of these early reviews as well, too. Immediately as we got out of there, I saw posts saying that this new Killer of Killers movie is the best Predator movie, the best movie since the original. Some of that stuff is, maybe those people actually believe that, but I do not think this movie is as good as they're saying it is. It's a very good movie though. I had a great time watching it, but I personally think that Prey is still a stronger film. They were all saying the same things about Killer of Killers that they said of Prey, so is it still the best movie since the original, or is that movie just gone now too? So, like, I lower the expectations when it comes to reading some of these over extravagant reviews. But I want to tell you, as a Predator fan, lifelong Predator fan, I had a really, really great time with this movie. It is not perfect, but I would say I loved it, but it's just, there's so much going on and so much to pick apart that some of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to have to talk about in spoilers, and I'm going to do that at the very end of the video, so you'll be able to watch my review, hear my thoughts, and then I'll give you a warning when I switch over to spoilers so you can click out and watch the movie if you haven't seen it yet. But this will be dropping pretty close to release, so you may already have. The movie features an anthology of 3 stories, the first featuring a Viking mother and her son out for bloody, violent revenge. The second is about a ninja warrior on a mission to get even with his rival samurai brother. And finally, a pilot that takes to the skies in World War II to investigate mysterious attacks on the Allied planes. The action in this movie is stunning, extremely well choreographed and shot. I'm not going to go into specifics on every single one of these stories, but there was one scene in the feudal Japan ninja samurai story that just blew me away with the choreography of the samurai armoring up, and that's all I'm going to say about that. It is just so incredible how they shot some of this stuff. They did some crazy stuff with the action in this movie. I was truly blown away by some of it. Like the Viking scene, the main Viking mother going through a crowd of Vikings, just taking them out one by one by one. And it's just violent, and the way it ends, it's just so much fun. And it was all one take, like a one shot, if I recall. I've only seen the movie once, so I can't exactly remember everything right now. And then even just some of the camera work in the dogfighting of the World War II segment, there was just some really awesome camera work and choreography. An all of the shots felt so planned out and methodical, and and they were beautiful on top of it. Like every scene in this movie, every frame, you should be able to pause it and it looks just like a painting. And I think that was their intention. They wanted it to look like concept art. If you were to pause a scene, it should look like a concept art piece. And I would say they achieved it because this movie is so beautiful. But while it's beautiful and the cinematography and everything is great, this movie is very brutal, violent, bloody. It's a gore fest, I would even say. It might be even one of the bloodiest, if not the bloodiest in the franchise. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on it, but it felt like I was just seeing so much more carnage and blood and guts than I was used to in a Predator movie. And because it's animation, it kind of played with the viewer at times too. Like there were scenes, and maybe this is just more of the cinematography, there were scenes, specifically the ninja trying to infiltrate the castle. There's a scene where he's looking at something from his point of view, and I did not realize I was looking at a predator. And you'll know what you're seeing when you see it. It's very cool. They did some really awesome predator stuff in this movie. Animation allows for a lot more storytelling in ways that you couldn't do in live action. You can get a lot more extravagant, surreal, or just exaggerated with things. And sometimes you can push that a little too far. I think they may have gone a little too far in the unrealistic aspect of things in one specific spot for me, and I'll go into the details in that in the spoilers, but it was during the World War II scene. It could work because it's animated, and I think it gets by because of that, but I still was like, this is a lot. But it was still a fun segment. I can't deny that. And it's just got great art direction on top of it all. The animation, I have not seen the show, but it looks like the Arcane style from what I've seen of it. And I believe everybody's been kind of describing it like that. Very beautiful, painterly at times, just great stuff. I would prefer to see more traditional hand-drawn animation, but I know that it would be much more difficult to pull off some of the shots they do in this with hand-drawn stuff. I hope that all animated movies don't fall down this trend of doing the Arcane style or the Spider-Verse style or anything like that. I would like a little bit more individuality, but it still works really well here. There is stylization in the designs. We see that in the big predator, but there's also big humans that he goes up against during the Viking scenes. And then the samurai are all smaller, more nimble people, and the predator that goes up against them is a smaller size, but he's still big because he's a predator. And speaking of the stylization, something I just want to speak on really quick is I feel like either people just don't understand stylization or they choosing to not want to, because I've seen so many people call the big predator an upgrade style because he's big and beefy, and the upgrade predator in The Predator was a big and beefy, didn't have a lot of armor on, he had kind of a gray texture to him. This new guy's kind of like that, but just because they're both big characters, that doesn't mean they're the same. This big guy is designed like Kingpin in the Spider-Verse movies, where that guy is just a brick wall and his head's all small, and it makes sense for what they were going for to go up against giant Viking characters. Not every single predator in this movie is super overly big or anything like that. I've just had some interesting observations in the community and the fan base over the design of that specific big predator. I do think that it would be nice to see full-on masks on the predator. I don't need to have the mandibles out in every design like Farrell has. I would have liked to see maybe a more full mask in the main ones. I still think they all looked really cool. The pilot predator was awesome, and they all had their own characteristics, and it was just a lot of fun to see their own individual weapons or their own personality. Even the feudal Japan predator, he was missing 2 of the top mandibles. That's interesting. I don't want all my predators to look like that. Maybe he had them damaged in a battle or something like that. Didn't really look like he had scars, but anyways, I think all of the predators were cool and fun, and maybe even the other ones that show up. The sound design in this movie is stellar. Most Predator movies have incredible sound design, but the sound design of this was just fantastic, and hearing it in the theater, just chef's kiss. I loved it. The Predator sound effects, the clicking, the booming, the slicing and dicing. It's good stuff. All 3 of the stories are very, very good too. If I had to pick a favorite, which I've been racking my brain over for the last week about, I think it would be the feudal Japan with the ninja and samurai story. That was just such a cool story, and all of them are cool, but that one just had a really cool vibe to it, and I really enjoy how they all tied together in the end too. Without going into spoilers, it's just I liked that. I liked that a lot. And that tension that the Predator franchise, specifically that first film, is known for is in every single one of these stories. The storytelling wasn't just always verbal, it was visual too, especially like the feudal Japan story. There's a very little dialogue spoken in that one, and even when there is no dialogue spoken, you can still follow everything that's going on. You get what the characters are thinking. You can figure it out. But the storytelling and dialogue doesn't always work for me. And like I mentioned earlier, in the World War II segment, I just thought maybe one of the characters was a little too quippy and chatty during scenes of tension and stress. But again, it still was fun to watch. And because it was animated, I was able to give it a little bit more forgiveness and grace there. But usually I would prefer not everybody to have quips or a line here or there. But like Predator is also known for their quips and their lines. So maybe I'm just nitpicking here. But I didn't feel that way about the Viking story or the ninja story. They had moments of comedy, but they were more visual opposed to verbal, and maybe that's why it worked better for me. But again, I still had a great time with the World War II segment. And what's really great is how they tie all three of these stories together. I mean, at the end of it, you're going to have the fans doing the Leo snapping and pointing at the screen thing. Like I was doing that in the theater. It felt like I was doing, shoot. What's really, really cool is that they're doing what a lot of us fans have wanted for many, many years. I felt like Prey was an answer to a call I've wanted for my whole life, which is having a Predator story set in a different time, in the past, in the future, something, but just tells a different story than what we're used to. And by slotting a Predator into a cool story that's happening in a different time setting, you can get really interesting, fun stories. And that's exactly what this does with the Vikings, with the feudal Japan, and with World War II. It's why Predator works. It's always about people figuring out how to deal with this monster in the environment that they're in. It doesn't matter if they're big and bulky muscle guys, because we saw that those guys get their heads chopped off and cut off too in Predator and all the other Predator movies. It's not about the muscle, it's not about the guns, it's about outsmarting the Predator in the environment that you have to work with. And they do a really great job with that in this movie. And there are so many fun new Predator gadgets and gizmos for some seriously brutal mutilation, and it was just so much fun to watch. And hearing the crowd just cackling at times it just adds to the enjoyment of it all. I can't wait to see it again so I can watch some of the violence happen, because it was so much fun. Violence is fun. Each of the individual Predators are fun and vicious as well too. They all have their own personalities, like I mentioned earlier. But I did have some very nitpicky complaints that I'm going to go over in the spoiler section. I admit they're probably so nitpicky. This movie also really expands on the Predator lore in general really well. I'm very curious to see where they're going from here, because this feels like it's setting up a lot. It feels like it was the first page of a book in a way. They were just opened and we're getting a whole new universe after this, and I'm very curious to see where they're going with it, because this movie, I think it opened up a lot of new doors, and we'll see what happens. If I had to give any direct complaints, I don't have a lot, but a few of them are that I felt that the frame rate at times just wasn't consistent throughout scene to scene. Maybe it was the theater projector, or maybe it is the frame rate, or maybe it's just my eyes. I don't know, but it felt like from scene to scene, from shot to shot, maybe the frame rate was super smooth and clean, and then sometimes it was a lot choppier, and it just felt like it was throwing my eyes off a little bit at times. And that's where I kind of mentioned earlier that I don't necessarily want all these movies to kind of go down this animation style route, the Spider-Verse, the Arcane, all of that. Like, maybe it doesn't have to be so choppy like that, or maybe it can be smooth, or maybe it doesn't even need to look that way, like I'm probably just complaining here and nitpicking, but I just did have a little bit of an issue with the frame rate at times. It did feel like I kind of missed things too because of the frame rate, so I'm going to have to see the movie again to really catch everything. Even when something was like panning by in the background in a very specific scene towards the end, I was trying to pick on things, and I couldn't make it out because it was just the frame rate made it feel a little blurry. But again, it could have been the theater, but I don't think it was. The music in this movie, though, I forgot to mention it. That was fantastic. It was cool to hear Benjamin Wallfish, who did the music for Alien Romulus, come into a Predator score now. And he, I believe, is the first composer to do both an Alien and a Predator movie. And that's fun. The score was very tense and action-packed when it needed to be, but it also had a few really fun nods to the Alan Silvestri Predator score from 1987. And it wasn't overly powerful powerful like it had been in previous films like The Predator. It wasn't overused like it was in some of them too. It just came in at the right moment, little hints here and there, and I was like, okay, I liked that. I liked that a lot. And I'm someone that I love the Sarah Sachner score for Prey. I don't need every movie in the Predator franchise to use the Silvestri score, but it does feel weird when it doesn't play. Thankfully, Sarah's score for Prey had it slightly hidden in there if you listen for it just right. I'm curious if she's going to come back for Badlands or if Wallfish is doing Badlands. Who's doing it? We'll find out in the future. To give my overall thoughts before we jump into spoilers, Predator fans, do not sleep on this movie. It's a movie we've wanted for a long time as fans. We wanted these different timeline stories, and there's a lot going on. And it's just, I think Predator fans are going to eat this one up. And while they're eating it, it'll satisfy their appetite for all the time that we have to wait for Badlands, which is not too long. We're going to just see that in less than a year. It's like 6 months away. It's June right now. It comes out in November. That's less than 6 months. That's crazy. I'm so excited. Dan said something very interesting at the Q&A.
And what's next?
Yep. I mean, that's like I said. After Prey, was trying to figure out what to do, and 3 cool things came to mind. This one, Badlands that's coming out, and another cool thing. But because Badlands is next, because Badlands is next, we wanted to make sure that people knew that there's still something in store for that character.
So what does that mean? More after Badlands? Another Predator thing? We'll find out soon. Really quickly, I'm going to rank the Predator movies here, and I'm going to rank them in 2 different orders. The order that I think are the best made movies from best to worst, and then my personal favorite list from what I like the most and what I like the least. That doesn't mean which one's better than the other, it's just my preference. And I think we could all agree with this. The first film is the best in the franchise, hands down. It's the one that started it all. Followed up by Predator 2. But I would also say that Prey is just as good as Predator 2 in different ways. They both have their own strengths in their own ways, but they are both very different movies. So those 2 switch between 2 and 3 for me. The next would be Predators. It's a movie that I personally think has a lot of potential, but fails in execution. I think there are really, really great ideas there. I just don't love the representation of the Predators in that movie. They're slow, they're clunky, they're lumbering. They don't do a lot. When they fight with the captured, crucified Predator, it's just a bunch of guys flopping into each other. And I had so much hope for that movie. And maybe one day we can do a better version of it. Cast and crew, great. It looks beautiful. It just didn't hit the mark for me. At the very, very, very bottom, it would be The Predator, like way, way down low. I'm glad that we have moved on from that movie and it did not kill the franchise like some of us thought it would. Thank God. I would rank Predator Killer of Killers right above Predators and below Prey and Predator 2. It's, I think, a lot better than Predators. It's just not as up to standard as those other 2 movies are. Now, if I were to rank the movies in my own personal favorite to least favorite, it would go Predator 2, and then probably Predator and Prey. That kind of flip-flops every once in a while too. Predator 2 is the one I watched the most out of all of the Predator movies. It's the first movie I saw too when I was very young. I love it very much. Then it would still be Killer of Killers, then Predators, and then The Predator. So it's not too much different, my personal list, compared to what I actually think are the best made movies to the worst made movies. And if I were to slot the AVP movies in there, it would look like this. So now I'm going to jump into spoilers. So thank you for watching. If you are going to click out, I really appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. But now we're going to jump full into spoilers. I'm not going to go over every little detail, but I'm just going to talk about some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't like. I'm giving you your final warning. Spoilers, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. The movie opens up with Predator text going over the screen, and it translates to English, and it's a scripture from the Predator code book, which is very interesting. They have their own code, which we've always kind of assumed Predators have code, but this is the first we've heard of in the movies, their code book, and it's like scripture. So what does that mean? I feel like we're going to see more of that in Badlands because it's strictly from the Predator's point of view. I really, really appreciate how violent and unapologetic this movie is. There are main characters dying in each segment. Ursa's son not making it through the end of the story, and she just becomes heartbroken after all of that mission for revenge she was on. Just, it sucks for her, but like she got what she wanted. But at what cost, you know? That's just so interesting. Same with the ninja and samurai story. I can't remember their names at the moment, but they were having their rivalry, and the ninja really wanted to get even with his brother. But then at the end, what cost? We see him kind of shake and stutter on his decisions there at the end. He almost looks like he's regretting having attacked his brother. But if he hadn't attacked his brother, would he have been slaughtered by the predator? Who knows? I liked how they just didn't hold back on kind of poking you in the heart a little bit with these characters. Like you kind of felt for them by the end of each story. Or even when we lose Michael Bihn's character, it's the self-sacrifice, and they all have their own arcs in this movie, and it was just really interesting and cool how they did it. The fight scenes in this movie are so cool, and I mentioned it earlier, but the samurai armoring up while his brother is fighting him throughout this long drawn out scene, and he's putting on one piece and one piece and one piece, and it's like pieces are getting kicked around the room, and by the end of it he's fully suited up, and it was just such a cool scene. I loved that, and that's what this movie really achieves well. It's got those action scenes down. Dan knows how to direct really great action. I really enjoyed the battle between Ursa and the Viking predator on the frozen ice lake. I just thought there was some really clever stuff in there, and I just had a really fun time. It was a really interesting, unique location, and they did some really cool stuff in that. One of the things that I mentioned earlier that I didn't go into detail with, that I just had issues with, and in the visual storytelling, was when John was flying the plane, but he had to climb out onto the wing to kind of repair it and break it apart. If it wasn't animated, that would not have worked for me, but because it's animation, you can give it a little bit more grace. But even then, I was still kind of going, this is a little bit much. And he's dropping all these one-liners and these quips while doing all of that. And it just, compared to the rest of the movie, didn't have that same sense of tension and urgency because of all of the unrealistic kind of situation he was in. Though I was having fun watching it, so I wouldn't say it's bad either. It may be pushed a little too far in the unrealism. We learned that at the end of the World War II story, that John Torres makes it out and he's working as a mechanic, but then one night he is interrupted by some sounds outside, and he goes outside and he's abducted by the Predator ship. But as the ship flies away, we see a crop field, and there's crop circles in the crop field, and I just really dug that bit of extraterrestrial lore that we have as humans and the mysteries out there, and I just thought that was cool. I really dug that. That was just a very clever idea, and I really enjoy little things like that. We find out that they captured Ursa and our ninja character as well, and they've all been cryogenically frozen. We do not know how long, and we see that they're not the only ones frozen in this ship. There are bodies and bodies and bodies just in the ship that they're in. It looks like a prison carrier or some type. And they are then all forced into a gladiatorial ring where they have to fight to the death, and the final survivor gets to fight this badass warlord predator wearing a predator skull as a mask. Talk about meta. That's freaking awesome. He's also big and beefy like the Viking predator was too. But then our characters, they all kind of learn to work together after many language barriers, and they eventually all figure each other out. But one of the moments that got a good laugh out of the crowd was when they all had to pick their weapons, and when they got their kind of iconic weapons from their timelines, and so they make sense for them. And then the one that pops out is a small pistol for John, the World War II pilot, and it's Raphael Adolini's pistol, the pistol from Predator 2 that Naru had at the end of Prey. So what does that mean? We know that at the end of Prey, during the credits, we see the animated version of the ships fly down to the tribe. So does that mean that they came back for Naru and they kidnapped her like they did with all these characters? It's very interesting, but that pistol was just a fun callback, and everybody was hooting and hollering in the theater. Not expected, but it was very fun. I didn't expect to like hearing the Predator speak at that arena, the Warlord Predator, and then they translated it through their little neck braces. And I didn't expect to like that. I've always been wary about Predator speak. This worked. It worked really well. I'm curious. I'm hoping Badlands, it's one of those things you can go too far really easily, and I really hope they don't. There was a big monster that they had to fight in the gladiatorial arena when they killed it, which was quite ridiculous and funny and awesome at the same time. All these things were happening. Was dead, they pushed the dead body off with a little vehicle that has like a almost like a snowplow in the front of it. But then if you look closely at that vehicle, it's the same one that we see the Elder Predator driving in the Predator Badlands trailers. So that's a really cool little Easter egg kind of nod to what's coming next. I didn't expect to see that in the movie, but that was fun. I really dug that. But a couple of things that I didn't like that I can really talk about now in the spoilers is that, and these are kind of scattered, they're not specific, but like in the World War II scene, in the trailer, I maybe I misunderstood, or the visuals they weren't as clear to me, but I was under the impression that the Predator ship was going to be a smaller size too, to maybe kind of match with the World War II planes, not a massive ship. It just felt like a little unfair. And I mean, Predators are unfair, but I just felt like it maybe could have been more of a dogfight opposed to this big hulking monster of a vehicle and these small World War II jets. Still had a blast watching it, though. I can't deny that. But I think I misunderstood where that was going to go. And that's just the trailer. And maybe I misunderstood the trailer. That's not anything faulting the story. But it was just something I would have loved to have seen, a smaller ship that maybe ejected from a larger ship. And then they had a little bit of a dogfight, But that's just me nitpicking here. Very nitpicky. Though maybe this isn't nitpicky, but maybe it is. I do not need Predators to die by their own weapon or hand in every movie. You can say that maybe the Predator did that to himself in Predator, but Arnold set up a very elaborate trap for that. You get Danny Glover killing City Hunter with the smart disc, using his own weapon, but that was like the first time it happened. Predators, they use some weapons against them, but they're not like really killing them with like their gadgets, and that's what I'm being specific about. It's their gadgets, not so much like a sword or an axe or anything like that. But like Prey, we had Farrell essentially kill himself because his own bolts hit him in the head because of the way his mask was lined up. So that's him using his own weapons to kill himself. You know what I mean? So with this one, I mean, there's only so much you can do. So I get what they did and how they did it. I just don't need this every time going forward, is what I'm saying. So you've got the big Viking Predator getting stuff stuck in his thing and it blows up in his face. And then he gets the anchor to his face and so many things. Like that was fun and cool. I liked that. But for me, it's specifically talking about like the jet fighters versus the Predator ship. I just felt like it's their own weapons against them over and over again. Not so much the Samurai Predator, but there was his mines getting ejected back to his blades, and then he got stuck, so he got blown off to the tree. Like, that was his own weapon involved with the death, So I'm just like, I get what you're doing. I don't need it every time, but I still really loved them. Like, that's the thing. There was one specific thing that, like, if I had any notes for this movie, this would be the one question that I had. Why'd they let the survivors fly off in the Predator ship? When in Predators, when Royce flies off in the Predator ship, we think Mr. Black blows up the ship. The entire time they're taking off, I was just going, okay, are you gonna pull out your wrist blade and blow up the ship? Or are we gonna find out that they weren't in the ship, or there's something they're gonna have to get out? Like, you've established in previous films that this happens when this happens. You've established in previous film that if the ship can get away, they have wrist bombs in there that are remote controlled to blow up the ship. And maybe you can argue that this is a different time, so they don't have that technology, but when is this? It's hard to say, because if they got technology to fly across the galaxy, you would think they have technology to blow up their vehicles. But the argument could be said that they just wanted these people to get away so they can go hunt them. Sure, I guess. I don't know about that. Go hunt them on their own planet, or drop them on a preserve if you're going to hunt them. But you let them go and then you're going to hunt them. So you're going to give them a head start, or you're just going to catch up with them? I don't like to ask these questions, but I kept on asking that question during that scene. And also when the warlord just like let them go, no one decided to run up to the ship and slow these guys down. Predators are fast, and it felt like they were just hopping up and just slowly walking and waving goodbye. Like, I got really frustrated with that, where Predators are fast, they're violent, they're vicious, but they just let these guys get away to go start another hunt. It didn't make so much sense to me there. Maybe I'm misinterpreting the whole thing, and I could admit that. But that ending right there threw me a little bit. I was loving everything up until the predators just decided to not pursue, and they slowed down. And I was like, what is this? Come on. And that's one thing I really don't like about when predators are portrayed as slow and kind of clunky. And I know that predators make mistakes, and that's a lot of the way they defeat them. But this just felt very intentionally like we have to let them get away so we can start to play with them. And I don't know if I fully am on board for that. But I am still stoked for what's coming. I know, like it's hard for me right now. It felt like I needed a little bit more, maybe, or just I don't know. I'm just a little confused by that ending. And then this is maybe just nitpicky, or maybe we're gonna have answers to this later in the future. But like, because Dutch killed Jungle Hunter, does that mean later on down the road Dutch was kidnapped by the predators? I believe Predator Hunting Grounds hinted at that or something. If that's still technically canon, does that mean that Harrigan was captured by the predators, even though the elder Greyback gave him the pistol? So when a human kills a predator, does that mean they get a trophy, or do they get kidnapped? You see what I'm saying? I just not sure if I'm following these little threads here at the very end of the movie, and I'm having a hard time with some of that stuff, if I'm being completely honest. But I will also fully admit if I am being extremely nitpicky here. But I'm curious to what other fans think of this. What do you think of these characters popping back up? Because we find out at the very, very, very end of the movie, right after the title card pops up, that Naru is in one of the cryogenic freezing pods. The Prey theme plays, and that totally hints at some more stuff. What could it mean? Could it mean she's going to be in the new AVP that they're obviously leading towards? Is she going to be in her own movie, animated style or something? Like when Amber Midthunder was at the premiere, I was like, not that they wouldn't invite her to the premiere, but I was like, I wonder if she's in the movie. And then right at the end of the movie, she's right there, and you could feel the whole crowd like cheering and looking at her. We got to see where she was sitting, so it was kind of fun there. But yeah, I have some questions. I had some notes. Maybe some other Predator fans caught some things that I didn't see, and maybe I'll catch more things in more viewings. So yeah, but I had a really great time with this movie. I had a blast. I had so much fun. I want more of these, so please give us more animated films. If you haven't heard of this, there's an AVP anime that is done. It's sitting waiting to be released, but it's been put into the vault and it may never be released. This happened before the Disney buyout too, so it's not Disney's fault, by the way. But anyways, that's a topic for another day. Thank you so much for watching this video. It really helps me when you like and comment and you subscribe to this channel. Subscribe if you want more movie reviews. I'm definitely doing one for Badlands when that comes out, and I might do one for Alien Earth when the episodes drop weekly. If you would like to see all that, subscribe. Comment below. Have you seen the movie yet? Did you like it? Did you have any complaints? What was your favorite segment of all three of those stories? What would you want to see in another animated Predator anthology like this? Tell me in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching Mike's Monsters. I really appreciate having you here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye. Now get to the chopper. Ugh.